PSA, giving my card an 8? A 7? Are you kidding me? This card was right out of the pack, and I'm getting PSA 7s and PSA 8s. What's going on? I get a 9 on this card. It was perfectly centered. There's no edge wear. There's no corner wear. And the surface is glossy as a baby's bottom. So what's going on here with PSA? Well, here's my philosophy. Okay? And this is going to be a daring one. This is going against the grain. This is something nobody likes to talk about. Nobody. And, you know, in this channel, I always like to be very clear, concrete. I like to voice my opinion because this is what it is, right? I mean, YouTube is a free platform to voice your opinion on stuff. And to see trends and make educated guesses about why we're seeing these kinds of trends. And philosophies and self-made philosophies of what's going on here. And I never like to sugarcoat a thing. So, this video is going to be very, very different. Because nobody, and I don't think anybody on YouTube, has discussed this topic. Okay? And what we're going to talk about is PSA getting quote-unquote stricter with its grading system. So now that I make this video, you'll probably never see me be sponsored by PSA. You know, you'll never see PSA send me anything for free. But I think it's a good philosophy. I think it's good to educate and let people know my opinion of what's going on here. So I think PSA, excuse me, I'm actually catching a cold. That's why I haven't been uploading quite as much, but I think PSA is pulling some pop control here. I said it. I said it. Were they going to try to kick me off YouTube? I think I might get flagged on this video. And it's not just because of my last few submissions. It's because of many people's submissions. I have seen a consistent basis in the last 2 to 3 months here that we're seeing cards get 8s and 9s, especially the 9s. Perfect shape. Get 9s. Pack fresh. Get a 9. 99999. Does PSA need the money? Here's one philosophy is, oh, PSA extra tough on a card because they want you to crack it and they want you to resubmit it. That's why PSA is giving your cards 7, 8s, and 9s, and not 10s, because they want to make more money. And as great as that sounds on paper, let's be honest, they don't need the money. They don't need the money at all. They're doing just fine. Their times went for bulk from 65 days to 85 days. And you know what's crazier? They upped it to many submitters in their orders. When they submitted at a 65 business day turnaround, they upped it after that. They submitted it at 65. It got revised to 85 while it's in their possession. And what happened? You heard chimes and chatter about it in some social media stuff. But at the end of the day, PSA still wins. People are still submitting to PSA. And they're glad to, and they're happy to. They could raise bulk prices tomorrow to $10, $11 a card, and people are still going to do it. Okay? So I don't think it's a money issue for this company, because they're certainly racking in the money now. I think it's more of a population issue. And what do you mean by that, population issue? Well, when a card is very rare and very expensive, okay, and people are willing to pay good money for it. Sorry, just something came on my phone. What happens is if there's too many 10s out there, then the card devalues itself. If every card submitted gets a PSA Gem Mint 10, even if it deserved, even if every single card submitted deserves a 10. If they all get 10s, the value of it goes down because, well, let's be honest. Who's going to pay a premium for a 10 compared to a 9? It would just make 9s less than a raw card, really. So what PSA, in my opinion, is doing is they're seeing these cards and they're like, wow, Yu-Gi-Oh! The hottest thing on the market. You see these prices? Hey, Jim. Hey, to the boss. You see these prices on Yu-Gi-Oh cards? What's going on here? I mean, you're seeing thousands and thousands of dollars being dished out on single pieces of cardboard. Holy crap. On PSA 10s. What are we going to do about this, Jim? Well, Jim says, well, because we want to keep that value nice and high, we are going to limit the amount of 10s. We're going to be stricter on all Yu-Gi-Oh cards because if there's so many 10s out there, well, the cards will never hold their value. So we need to make sure our brand has the most exquisite and high-valued collectibles in the industry. So to keep those collectibles high and to keep people submitting to PSA in the long run, we have to limit these 10s, right? Because let's be honest, if everyone has 9s, it's not worth anything. Or if anyone has 10s, it's not worth anything, excuse me. You know, if everyone could say, 10s are easy to get. 10s are easy. Easy 10, 10, 10, 10. I have a 10, you have a 10, he has a 10, my mailman has a 10, the waiter across the street has a 10, my grandpa has a 10, everybody has a 10, my teacher, my grandson, everybody in the world has 10s. Then what's the whole point, right? And where's the value at? You know? So in PSA's mind, as a business, they're saying, well, let's not kind of tank the values we currently have. Let's not keep giving out 10s, because if we do that, it's going to be less and less expensive, you know? And we don't want to do that. So, my opinion is there are certainly stricter graders, but it's not just an issue of stricter graders. It's an issue of population control. You know? In Pokemon, in my opinion, when I submitted Pokemon cards 6-7 years ago, much easier to get 9s and 10s. Now, 7s and 8s, 9s, most of the time 9s. The card's perfect, it's a 9. You just basically have to scratch off a lotto to hit a 10. I mean, it's basically paying penny stocks, throwing darts at dartboards and saying, all right, all these cards are perfect. Which 10 or 20% of them are going to be 10s? You know? That's the game you play. So that's how PSA, in my opinion, wants to keep their prices sky high. I'm sure they're extra tough on the Mickey Mantles and the Charizards and the Blue Eyes White Dragons. But I think overall, in general, in the Yu-Gi-Oh market, they are getting much, much, much tougher. Much tougher. We see it. We see it the last 3 months. Take a look at PSA submissions the last 3 months for Yu-Gi-Oh cards. You know, stuff that would be getting 10s for years, getting 9s. For no valid reason. You know, we had those outliers. I mean, that has happened before. You know, there's always a grader that just, you know, broke up with the girlfriend the night before and decides to give 5, 6, and 7s. You know, see the old school expert there. But as a whole, as a business, it just makes too much sense, right? I mean, because the market is now established. And to validate that point, PSA, when they show off their cards and their diverse offerings, when you see sports cards, when you see stamps, when you see mini cards, when you see Magic, and you see Pokemon, now you see Yu-Gi-Oh with them. You see Yu-Gi-Oh right with them. And what is that telling me? PSA values Yu-Gi-Oh with the ranks of a sports or a Pokemon or a Magic the Gathering collectible, a high-end collectible. So now that they have this high-end established, well, now they could say, all right, let's keep it under control, guys. All right, let's be extra tough on Yu-Gi-Oh because we don't want these population 10s getting out of control. We do not want to devalue our own product. We want our value very high. We want people to continue to regard PSA as its prestigious, hard-to-get, high grades. So we cannot be letting all of these 10s get through. And from one perspective, that's good. You don't want a lot of 10s because not every card's a 10. But at the same time, if a card deserves a 10, give the card a 10. Okay? So that's my opinion of what's going on in the last few months. I really do think that. And I think it's something nobody wants to talk about because nobody's got the cojones to go up and say it. I mean, I'm just a guy with 2 grand subscribers. I'm not a guy with 1 million subs or 20,000 subs. You know? You see these big guys with the 30, 40,000 subscribers, and they say, oh my gosh, why did that get a 7? There must be a reason. Or 6. Why? It looked great when I sent it off. And they're like, oh, PSA must have got it right. Well, oh wait, by the way, PSA, I'm a certified partner with PSA. And they've got to get it right. So, my opinion on that, the hard reality, the hard truth, what is your opinion? Do you think there's pop control going on? I want you to be very honest here. Do you think it's different? Do you think submitting now is harsher? It's harder to get 10s submitting now. Because I do. I honestly do. What's your opinion, guys? Let me know. Until next time, Yu-Gi-Oh! Tube is signing out.